today we are going to deal with what were the causes of the decline of the Mughal Empire. As in the previous lecture we have covered that what were the roles of the later Mughals that led to the decline of the Mughal Empire. But now we are mainly going to see what were the main causes, and we will deal with all the subpoints. Like first is the internal weakness. There was lot of internal weakness because the Mughal state was a war state in its core. The people were fighting among themselves for the power, to gain the power. They did not had a welfare motive or a feeling of nationalism to fight with the Britishers or to remove them. They were the one who used to hold hands with Britishers. That led to in Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, we see that due to internal weakness only they won the war. So there was lot of internal weakness. They were killing each other to gain power, to rule the power. We see that it was followed by military aristocracy, followed by Mughal army also. So there was lot of epics in the structure. Mughal, there were multiple issues also at three level. There was a broad military structure. Then we see that the military of the Britishers was stronger, and the military of the Mughal Empire was not as strong as the Britishers because they were equipped with the more modern weapons, and whereas the Mughals were only knowing the ancient and the medieval times, which were not that much developed as their weapons were developed. So first was the internal weakness. Second, we see Aurangzeb misguided policy. Aurangzeb misguided policy was the core of the decline because after Aurangzeb, all the later Mughals who came, they were not capable of ruling. We see that Aurangzeb only resembles inflated balloon. He made his empire very big in India. Most of the territories of India was captured. But then also we see that it was not done check. There was no check and balance. So that led to the decline of Mughal Empire because everywhere, somewhere he used to put his focus, but then another side there used to be a war, and he was only in the war every time, and that led to weakening of economy also, and the weakening of economy led to weakening of the center. Aurangzeb had very wrong religious intolerant policy also. He didn't like Rajput Sikhs, Jats and Marathas, mainly Hindus he didn't like. So that also led to rebellion. The Hindu king or the rulers who were in India, they used to rebel for this, and he was not aware of how to do guerrilla warfare. But Marathas were very superior in this, and they won the war in the Deccan. So the Deccan is also considered one of the major reasons why Aurangzeb policy was weakened, his center weakened, and after that we see that it led to gradual decline of Mughal Empire. After him all the later Mughals came, but it was not that stable. There was now the third point. We see that weak successors means later Mughals, that we have covered in the first lecture very nicely. All the later Mughals we have seen. So later Mughals, we see that they were only personal despotism were there. They were only for the greed of their personal interest. The later Mughals were weak. They were incapable of ruling. They were insufficient general administrators who were incapable of suppressing the revolts. They were not able to suppress the revolts which were going, and they were the one who used to took help from the Britishers. They shake hands with the Britishers, and they said that okay, I am going to shake hand with you and you favor me that I will be the ruler. And the Britishers came, and in return Britishers also got many farman trading privileges. Now there was a gradual process in which Britishers came to trade, but then eventually they started interfering in politics because they were knowing that if they interfere in politics, their trade will go into 10 times. Now the fourth point is the war of succession and the role of kingmakers. There were a lot of war of succession, due to which the economic condition of the Mughal Empire was continuously weakening. It led to the weakening of center. And there were kingmakers, as we have talked about the Sayyid brothers, yeah, Zulfikar, Jahandar Shah. In that reign also we see. So these things, what it led? It led to the decline of Mughal Empire only. In Jahandar Shah, we see that Bahadur Shah had 4 sons. Now Jahandar Shah won. But how he won? With the help of Zulfikar Khan. So Zulfikar Khan acted as a kingmaker. In the same way, we see that Farooq Siyar once, but with the help of whom? Sayyad brothers. So the brothers and they made him the noble because they were weak successors. So kingmaker policy was one of the main reasons that led to the decline of Mughal Empire. Nature of the Mughal state, fifth point. Now the nature of the Mughal state was not very good because Aurangzeb totally failed to have a harmonious relationship with Hindu and Muslims. But the later Mughals came, they had a good relations, but it was not that good as it should have been. Thus, these were the things which led to the decline of Mughal Empire. Now, the sixth point is degeneration of Mughal nobility or military aristocracy. Akbar had organized an aristocracy or ruling class through a Mansabdari system. There was a Mansabdari system. Mansabdars were appointed by the emperor himself on the basis of personal loyalty to the emperor. But they required to maintain a given number of savers or horsemen and were often paid for jagir, landed estate. With time, the Mansabdari system has also become mandatory and hereditary. See, when you take something as hereditary, that you are ruling, now your son will rule, now after that his son will rule, that hereditary leads to not a stable government, because it is not important that his son is also capable of ruling. So it should be on the meritocracy, but it was not on meritocracy. Mansabdari system became hereditary. Now the hereditary thing which led to the decline, because they started collecting tax more from the peasants, so they were suppressed, and they also got an opportunity like this to suppress the farmers, and then that eventually led to the decline. The degeneration of Mughal rule was then again added by the degeneration of nobility. The nobles who were there, they were not very much patriot or very much nationalist towards their nation. They were only very selfish. They were thinking of their self-interest. Now they were we can say that they were wholly devoted to the luxurious livings, like we see Muhammad or who is also known as Rangila. So he was fond of wine and women. That led to the decline because his administration eventually became very weak. So these things were there. Now the seventh point comes shifting loyalty of zamindars. Zamindars and nobles were the two classes that shared a very important power to the emperor. Now the zamindars or landlords were hereditary owners of the land, and they were various known as Rais, Rajas, Kutus, Thakur or Deshmukhs. These were the names which were given to the landlords or zamindars. What were the names? Rais, Rajas, Kutus, Thakurs and Deshmukhs. They played a very important role in the collection of revenue and local administration, because zamindars were the one who helped the nobility to take advantage of the weakness of empire, and they established autonomous states for themselves. Then comes the 8th point, that is Jagirdari crisis and resulting court fraction. In 18th century, we see that there was an emergence of economic crisis because the Mughal Empire was totally devoted to war in one or another region. That led to Jagirdari crisis. It is defined by Satish Chandra. Satish Chandra has defined Jagirdari crisis in his words. He said that the available social surplus was insufficient to defray the cost administration and give the ruling class a standard of life in keeping with its expectation. This happened because of the unusual increase in number of Mansabdars at the time when the area was distributed to a Jagirdar remained stagnant or even declined. So he mainly says that because you were continuously giving Jagirdars to the people, so there was a gap being created in the administration between the ruling class and the normal class, and it really affected the economy of the Mughal Empire. The Jagirdari crisis increased during the last years of the Aurangzeb. When Aurangzeb was going, so he started giving Jagirdars more and more. Due to this, Deccan, what happened? Jagirdari crisis is believed to have led to an unhealthy competition, because among the nobles there were a fight between that who has more control over good Jagirdars, and that led to eventually a greed or a selfishness that I will be the ruler, then I will have more Jagirdars. So group politics in Mughal court had begun. Order of the day, we see that each group wanting to have influence over the emperor to get good Jagirdars. So they all were having now greed to have an influence Why they were having agreed to have influence? So that they have a good jagirs. The ninth point, we see that military weakness was there. Military was not very strong. There was a degeneration of military aristocracy that led to weakening of Mughal army as well. The weakening of military invited both internal as well as external challenges, because they were eventually busy in fighting. The Mughal administration or the Mughal Empire was totally devoted to fighting and gaining power. They were so selfish that they did not pay attention in the west coast. That led to the Arab invasions, or that led to the Afghan invasions. They came. We see that Ahmad Shah Abdali came. So how did he came? Because there was not a very good army over there, or it was not very much equipped. So they entered from there, and then they invaded Delhi so many times. So there was a military weakness. Empty treasury was there. Shah Jahan yields for construction had already depleted the treasury. The whole treasury was depleted, further drained by Aurangzeb long war in the Deccan, because Aurangzeb was totally devoted to war. He had a very long inflated balloon. It is called that his empire was a long inflated balloon, because most of the territory was captured by him. But when he used to pay attention at one side, the other side there was a war. So totally he was devoted to war also. So the military marches also destroyed standing crops in the Deccan. Whatever little left was there, then it was destroyed by the Maratha raiders. Size of the empire and rise of regional powers. We see the Mughal empire was too large to handle, and rulers were not capable. That led to weakening of the center and decline of Mughal empire. There were external challenges also that led to the decline, like rise of Marathas. Marathas were rising after Aurangzeb fall in the Deccan War. Marathas rise we were seeing eventually in the 18th century. Invasions of the Iranis, Persians and Durrani Afghan kingdoms was there. They were continuously, like Nadir Shah attacked India in 1738 and 1739 and defeated the Mughal army in the Battle of Karnal. Now, Nadir Shah's successor Ahmad Shah Abdali invaded India 7 times between 1748 and 1767. So you can see that both Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali both had invaded India. Now Ahmad Shah has invaded India 7 times. So you can understand that how much they were taking our wealth, our resources and invading, and how poor our military was, that it was not capable of fighting a war with them also. And if we see that all the Mughal administration, or if the country would have not been divided between the regional lines or religious lines, then they would have not entered India only, but the feeling of nationalism was lacking. That led to entering of them and invading India. Advent of European power started. Now European trading companies took advantage of this unhealthy condition in India and saw themselves as a contender for power. They were the one who participated in court introduced. Now they had started participating in court introduced and hastened the process of disintegrations of the Mughal empire. Now we are done with what were the causes of the decline of the Mughal empire. We have dealt with all the subpoints. In the next lecture, we will cover the next unit, that is rise of autonomous state. Thank you everyone. Please like, share and subscribe my channel.